Welcome to the Sacred Feminine Connection podcast, founded by me, Anne Reynolds, with a twofold mission, which is to reweave the red thread of sisterhood among women around the world and restore the sacred connection between the feminine and masculine that thrived in ancient times but was lost and forgotten. At this time, this podcast airs every second Monday of the month. Today's episode is entitled The Power of Mary Magdalene. Our guest speaker today is Dr. Nicola Amadora, who passionately teaches the deep feminine and Mary Magdalene's way for decades worldwide. As a seasoned spiritual teacher, psychologist, author, speaker, mystic, and women's leader, she has been ushering thousands of women to the Holy Grail and to embody the feminine in the streets of this world. Nicola leads Mary Magdalene and Deep Feminine retreats and courses and offers a professional spiritual leader training for women. She is also the author of Love Unleashed. Nicola offers a radical, refreshingly real, and enlivening way, arising from the bedrock of ancient feminine wisdom and true love, so needed now for the turning of hearts and our world. Welcome, Nicola. It is such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me to your beautiful podcast. It's an honor.
It's so nice to see you again. I was so fortunate to be able to be a participant in your retreat last year, and I would love to let the listeners know more about it later on.
Oh, yeah, it was such a joy to have you there. And the Magdalena retreat, right where her cave is. So that was pretty profound. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it was a very life-changing experience from the inside out.
Yeah, I remember it changed my life a long time ago when I came there first and found out about her decades ago. It was a big turner for me.
So, how did the sacred feminine call out to you for the first time in your life?
Well, that was even before Mary Magdalena. That was in my early 20s when I spent time in the jungle with the indigenous people. And it was at that time, I think, the spiritual tourism really didn't exist in the Amazon. And I had felt so strongly to go there and learn from a shaman woman, an elder. So I spent several months in the jungle. And I'm not sure if I will tell the story, but it was the ultimate test was a huge anaconda snake. It was like a life and death test. And that's when the snake wrapped herself around my body. That was the moment I could feel the power of pure life of the feminine waking up inside of me. It's an incredible story that I've written about in my book, Love Unleashed. But it sent me on a journey, into where I could feel the sacred feminine. That word didn't exist in my time. I'm a little bit older than you. But I was already on a spiritual path since I was a teenager. I was really deeply steeped in Buddhism. Became a teacher in that lineage. But when I encountered that snake and did the training there in the jungle, I felt something is missing in the traditional teachings. Something is missing that shows up so destructive also in our world, where I could see the patriarchy completely having taken over. And it was like a disregard towards the earth. and a disregard towards being human on this earth and towards all creatures. I could feel it was like something is wrong, seriously wrong, because it also is driving our planet and ourselves to an extinction, to a level where we're facing right now. I could sense that I need to find what is it that can restore life, that helps people to treat everything as sacred, because that's what we need, that everything has inherent worth. And so I went on a journey to find, first I went into the wilderness after that trip with the Amazon. I rode alone in the wild with a horse for a month in the Red Mountains in New Mexico. And I learned how to communicate with the animals and with the trees and with the wind. And I was completely by myself, steeped into her. I call it her. I didn't want to just walk around with a concept of the sacred feminine, or I wanted to experience it. I wanted to know it intimately in my flesh and bones, and in most of all in my heart, that I could really feel and experience when I dropped deep. I was also very much in stillness and let myself feel everything. Suddenly, I felt connected with all beings in a visceral sense, in not just a knowing, but a felt sense, walking through the forest with my horse and sensing the bear and the cougars, all the animals out there. I could feel what a liberation and what a incredible holiness emerged from that. I could feel the separation melted away. I learned how to understand their language, which can only be heard and felt in the heart. So my heart had to open really wide, and my mind had to become really still. And I had to go through the senses to experience the holy is here, the sacred is here. It's not somewhere in the clouds. It's not somewhere beyond just. It's in my toes. It's in your hands. It's in your flesh and bones. And it was then that I realized that we really messed it up. We left half out. The half was the feminine, she, the sacred she. That means life in form on this earth is sacred, is holy, and must be treated that way. And includes everything, the plants, the animals. And so I then went back and I studied also holistic psychology, did my PhD in it. And I took quite a few courses on women's spirituality to learn, because I really wanted to know and learn. I started already my work with women when it was in my early 20s because I felt really inspired to guide women to really experience that and then to embody it and live from that. And it was, I think, 20 years ago when I came across Mary Magdalena. At that time, nobody talked about her. She was still degraded as the whore, as the sinner whom Jesus freed from the 7 demons. So for me, it was a total surprise because I was always looking for someone that actually walked this path, that lived the sacred feminine in her day-to-day among all challenges that arise for everybody. I didn't want to just learn from a holy one who lives in the mountains, hidden away. I wanted to find somebody who had actually walked the streets of this world and brought a revolution, a turning. And that's what Magdalena had done. The more I found out about her, and the internet didn't even exist at that time. I had to look in libraries and books, and it was hard to find much because it was so eradicated, her message and her teachings. And the more I immersed with myself with her, the more I was really, really curious and intrigued. And it wasn't until it's another magical journey on story, when I was guided to southern France and I came upon her cave, and especially that egg cave where you also were, where I took the women in. Uh, that's when it hit me. That's when the power just completely unleashed, because I could feel this isn't just some gentle fluff. Of course, she's gentle as a dove. This isn't just have some nice bubble bath and, and make yourself pretty. It was wild. She was wild, but it was also what I could feel, a fierce power that just shook me to the core, where it is about like realizing who you are truly and waking up in your body, in this life, not away from this life. I had a child, so with your child, with your partner, it was a teaching that was so radically different that I found with her. So I immersed myself in that deeply. I walked away. Before I then started, after she asked me to teach her way, to become a teacher in her lineage, because I knew this is so needed right now in our world. And it's, even Magdalena today is very misunderstood, often in the New Age, and people make up a lot of things, and they teach stuff that they haven't even walked, because her way is truly walk the talk, live this love, wake up, but also relate in ways that affirm the inherent worth, the sacredness of all life, behaving like that as well. And so this power, I realized when it was awoken in me, this is a life power that restores, that revives, that gives truly life, that wakes the living dead, that heals, that enlivens. I realized this is not about enlightenment, this is about enlivenment, what the sacred feminine is. Because remember, when you come truly alive, you don't need to think about that everything is sacred. You feel it. Yeah? And this, often we have stuffed so much upon our body, upon our feelings. We're so tied up. And then we try to figure it out with our minds. But the way is truly to liberate what is in the dark, to go unafraid into the dark, like you went into the cave, to, even with the fears, to walk through it, to go into the darkest. And also, so the way of the sacred feminine is much more like you go down into the darkness, meaning you face your shadow, you don't run away from it, but you also don't get stuck in it, so that you can, when you come out of the cave, you can rise up and contribute to our world. So, and I have seen so many women that I've guided who come truly alive. Like that's the marker of the sacred feminine. It's not a statue. It's being fully, fully, fully alive. And I feel there is so much more on the power, but this power, this life power of, let's say, from that Mary Magdalene walked and talked and taught and healed with, is in some ways it's a revolution, really, but in another way, it is what so many are longing for these days, to be in touch with that life power that we birth children with, from, that is a sacred, it's holy. And that's what the great beings, blessed others with, resurrected the dead from. And so I feel there's so much possible if we tap into that.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that really vivid and, I would say, visceral description. And it just shows how deep you have gone into her way, and how you also bring this into the world and to other women. I have seen this during the retreat, because I had the fortune to be right there in your presence, and definitely this can be felt. And yes, it's so true about what you say, that there are so many. I mean, there are many misconceptions about Mary Magdalene up to the present day, and the truth is deep and grounded, and it just goes back to the body and to really feeling and living, just like you say. And
Yeah.
I heard you mention that Mary Magdalene asked you to teach her way. Could you
Mhm.
tell us exactly how that happened, if that's okay for me to ask you?
Yeah, it was by surprise. I mean, I was sitting, in outside the cave, remember, on top of it, and I was just completely in bliss and felt so much love, because I also could feel the greatness of love she has lived, and it felt always very inspiring to me to follow that, but I was meditating, and suddenly I could feel her presence really strong. And I could feel she was sitting beside me, and then I just turned to her. I could feel her presence, and I heard, like, as if the mountain itself was speaking. She said to me, "You're my teacher. Teach my way. Bring the women from all across the world together. For now is the time." So that was it, and I didn't really want to. So I said no. So, and I don't know, at that time, nobody knew Magdalena, and I didn't want to be create a club fan of Magdalena, but I could, so she had to ask me several times. And, and then I reluctantly agreed to it, but still I kind of walked around it a little bit, because it was at that time the name of Mary Magdalena was just like an unknown thing, a weird thing, and she hadn't become the apostle of the apostles, and she wasn't famous like today. So I was one of the forerunners to bring her in, one of the torchbearers to make her more known. But it was a bit hesitant, I have to say. I also didn't want to. But when I realized what it did for women, it was for me, a total eye opener. I realized the enormity of the gift that was bestowed upon me, that I had the honor to carry forward into a world that's really is really needing this, but also to women who are sincere, who are craving like a true homecoming, and a love that, yeah, that just melts everything, every garbage out, basically. Um, so I could feel the effect it had, and you were part of one of the retreats. But I also could feel, this is literally the most forgotten, the most forbidden, the most trashed way and buried way, ancient, but it's the most ancient, the one feels most true and completely just right for women to walk that way. And men started coming too. It's a separate retreat I have with men too, because they started to get curious, what are we missing? What have we left out? How can we help in this world? So men started to get really intrigued because she also embodied something that we need, how to live sacred union in a grounded way with each other. How can we live and relate with each other? So because she was married, which is very unusual for a holy being to have a relationship. So I felt very, yeah, I just saw more and more the gift started unraveling, and I saw more and more the honor of carrying that torch. And so I finally said yes. It took me a while.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad that you actually said yes to her call. There are one in a million teachers who can really teach her way. And I could really feel that embodied in the experience that you gave for the women at the retreat. And I could also really feel the the depth and the sincerity and the openness of your heart. And definitely it is an one of a kind experience that not very many teachers have the capacity to bring. So the fact that you said yes is really a blessing to all women of the world. And I'm so, so grateful that you said yes. And it's so interesting because that's something that I am actually experiencing, within the past 2 years. There was a little bit of reluctance, in me as well. But this is it shows that it's your true calling, and I'm so grateful that in this lifetime I'm able to experience that. And so I wanted to thank you. That's
Thank you so much. It's an honor to hear that. Touches me. Thank you. Yeah, you can feel it in your heart. Yeah, yeah, I can remember when you walked away so open and so, yeah, present with it. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And there's you have so much background, I mean, that you've shared. And it just shows, how you were mentioning about, I mean, the title of today's episode is The Power of
Mm,
Magdalene. And her power, I could just see in the way you talk as well. And I mean, you the whole retreat, just remembering, because when I see you, then I'm feeling the experience and reliving it. And I could just see how there's this there's this special love And there's this special knowledge that like arises within you. It's like it could really feel that it's something that it's not, it's something that is ancient, and that it just this wisdom that comes up that's definitely not concocted, because then, I know you were saying earlier about, there's like a fluff, and that's,
Mm.
that's not really what it's all about, but it's just every word that just comes out. I can feel it. It's like it's coming from your whole being out into the world, and it's just really beautiful to experience that. And I'm sure that the listeners are experiencing it as well. And
Oh,
I believe you answered my some of my questions already in one. So so then I don't need to ask you that. But that's really, really great how, it just happens
yeah,
organically. And that's part of her way as well.
yes,
The,
yes, it is
the or
totally. It's organic, and I didn't even know your questions, so it just I tuned in and
That's
want to give
good.
your listeners, because I think there's something precious about not getting just more knowledge, but to get a felt experience even through a podcast. And I can really appreciate that you're making space for that, because I think we need in this time, especially to feel, when something is true, I think we can feel it inside. Even if someone has a lot of barriers, something inside stops and says, there's some truth in there. And I feel also like this whole spiritual scene around, like we have to always push away what's human. And that is so wrong, because it's like a violation towards saying, you're a human being, you have feelings, not that these feelings are the ultimate truth, but you have your likes and your dislikes, and everybody's walking around in this world with having some issues, and to bring a love to that, to love that, our vulnerability, to love each other in that. How much kinder the world would be in that way. And I believe that is what so many crave, because when you're loved as a human being, then you also feel your soul can come forth. Your light starts shining, because that pure love is that power that she walked, she lived, she taught, to access that power, to let that rise through the heart and through the belly. That what wakes, that what guides home, that what settles all the stuff to dust, and you can stand strong in real strength. You know? So, yes, thank
That
you.
is- yes, and that is what is needed. So, so needed in this world, in both men and women today. Um, it's just like how you were saying, being human is, well, you may have used different words, but what was coming to me when you were saying all this is that, there's so many parts to us. We have our shadow side. We have the the things that we like and dislike about us, but these are all part of us. And just bringing them all together
Yeah.
and loving that,
Yep.
loving us.
Yes.
Yes, this is
That's
her way.
that is her way. And then, as you also touched into, that's what opens the door to your true nature. That just is the power, that just is the love. So that's the piece where most people just like, what? Through your humanity, you find your divinity. And that, for me, is like, well, that's the saving grace, you know? So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So there's so much in there and so much power that I feel for women especially to learn to tap into that. It literally can heal things. It can restore you, it can revive you, but it also can turn your life into what it's really meant to be, to shine forth.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicola, for sharing that. And could you share with us the free gift that you have for our podcast listeners today?
Well, I have the feminine nectar meditation that I think most women are in need of, a dire need of nourishment, of drinking, really accessing the nectar inside to let it fill you, to be able to live from that. But I have on my website also the Magdalena section, the Magdalena meditation, into the cave we talked about. And I also lead once a year that famous retreat that apparently has gotten famous without me even marketing it ever. And where a lot of women from around the world come. It's always in September. There's a few spots open, and I have a retreat for men and women. It doesn't mean you have to be in a relationship. It's the way of love in the Catalan here in southern France, also a week long. And then I have many programs and courses women can tap into. So, yeah, it would be wonderful to have, if people just who feel moved, who feel that spark of truth rather resonating in one way or another, to come and check it out.
Yes, so the links are in the notes, and also Nicola's website is going to be in the notes as well, so you could check that out. And perhaps if it is of interest, you would like to experience her way in a deep way in the Catherlands in southern France, then I would like to invite you to visit and explore the Magdalene retreat, and perhaps maybe I will go to the other retreat, the one with the men.
The
So
way of love,
the
yes.
way of love. And by the way, when I found your retreat, I found it. It's like, it's good. It's kind of how like you're saying, when she calls, she calls. Because I
Yeah,
didn't know you at all.
yeah,
And then I found that retreat, but I saw you speak on somewhere else. And
yeah,
then that is the one that really it really gave me the result. That's like, okay, I want to learn from
yeah.
her. So
Yeah.
that's how that came. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
I'm so glad you came, and also you could feel something unspoken that is real and that is deep and that resonated with you. And I feel that's how a lot of people find these retreats. They're kind of like it's yeah, or the trainings or whatever I offer. It's more like a felt sense where you feel that really kind of touches me, that or that calls me. So because I remember when she told me to, I've been teaching retreats since 30 years and trainings and programs, so it wasn't a new thing for me. But when she said, offer this, of course, I said no first because I was like, nobody wants to traps with me into a cave. And she said, I'll gather the women. Don't worry, just set it up. And it was always from around the world. So usually we have like 12 countries or more in one room. And I feel it is also the way of bringing union among each other through all the countries. There, the land of the heart, the land of truth, where we all start putting up our camp and unite there.
Beautiful. So, that being said, may I ask, what is the one feminine quality that you connect with the most and why?
I feel I connect with most of the qualities of the feminine, so it's kind of gotten, I can't really pick and choose. I can only say that the power, the life power, for sure, the love, you know, gentle and fierce, gentle as a dove, fierce as a lioness. Yep, so those, for sure.
Thank you. And so, in closing this podcast today, what message do you have for the women who are listening to this interview right now?
Well, I've spoken a couple of messages in my talk already, but I would say, yeah, just really trust your inmost nature. Trust a little bit more that even if you feel things are rocky in your life, that you're held not by her, by the earth. Nobody has ever fallen off the earth, by the way. So you're always held, to lean into that. And to remember you too have inherent worth. Who you are is sacred.
That is beautiful. And what about for the men who are listening to this interview right now?
I would say, for the man, I would say, it's okay to feel, yeah, and to let go of the reins and actually stand behind the women and support the women right now because we need your strength behind us to be able to turn things in our world and to have some patience with the women because we're going through a big turnaround and it's a little bit messy. We don't have to, we haven't figured it all out either. But to remember that the true sacred masculine, you got it in you. So turn to that.
That's a beautiful message for both men and women. And one thing that's coming to mind is how the masculine power, because, there's also the feminine power, which you mentioned, and it's the title of today's episode, The Power of Mary Magdalene. But then there is the sacred masculine power that we women need to lean on.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah,
really, really beautiful how you
yeah,
brought that up because that's so important for men to remember.
yeah, yeah. We can't do it alone.
Yes, we can't do it alone.
But
Well,
we need to go on. We need to, as women, we need to go now to the front with
yes,
our cooking pots and everything else. Well, ladies, it's time to go to the front.
yes, and you could be the torchbearer who will help us and
Yes, that's my
lead us
job.
forward. There we go.
Yes,
Thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Nicola, for being here
thank
today.
you
It was
for
such a
everybody.
pleasure. Thank
Thank you
you
for
so
everybody
much.
who's listening, and thank you for you, and you're a true trooper. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you so much for joining us today in this sacred space. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you like this episode, please share this podcast with someone who really needs to hear this truth and subscribe to this podcast for more groundbreaking interviews. Together, let's open our hearts to Mary Magdalene's power of love and keep that love burning in our hearts so that we can rebuild the red thread that connects us all through unconditional love and heal the world.